Hey guys, Reuben Williams here, founder of SportsGrad. Back in the day, I landed a job at Cricket Australia on the Monday after my final university exam. And then 3 years later, when COVID hit and my job was made redundant, rather than looking for work for months on end, I was headhunted into a role that doubled my salary. I'm not telling you this to brag, I'm telling you because there is a method to it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. For example, Lucas Viana, one of our members, called the SportsGrad method a cheat code, and another member, Sasha Brahim, she called it magic. And honestly, I'll take that. Now, most people spend years trying to break into sport and never figure out why it is not working. And so the reason that this podcast exists is to change that. Every week, I'm going to share some real moments from real coaching calls that are unfiltered, unscripted, so you get a taste for the kind of work that has helped people land over 800 roles in sport and counting. If you're ready to stop guessing and start moving in the right direction and go after the career that you've always wanted, apply for the SportsGrad Method program at sportsgrad.com.au. Now, let's get into it. Whenever anyone comes to me and says like, hey, Reuben, I'm stuck, what should I be working on? I refer them to this document because it's got everything in it in terms of, workshops and all the curriculum to work on. And then the weekly action that I advise on putting in place. Because getting to that tipping point of reaching a job where eventually someone notices you and you get picked for your ability comes down to doing all of this sort of stuff consistently over time. So for example, and it sounds simple in principle, but there's a 90-minute workshop behind every one of these things to do it well. Plus then, this is the reason why we're here, is to be able to iterate and make sure you're doing it properly every single week. So it's not a quick thing, but we're here to work on it every week. But it starts with, one valuable piece of content every single week so that you are maintaining that brand presence, because that's when, people pick up your resume, they go, oh, yep, John O'Brook, I've seen him online. And I was looking at your LinkedIn now, I can see you've got a post from a week ago, 2 weeks ago. You've reshared a couple of things, and then the last one before that was probably 5 months ago.
Yeah.
So
we've spoken about that as well, just in terms of the audience that I'm trying to reach on LinkedIn and with where I'm trying to get to now as well.
Yep. Is there an issue in that you can't post, or?
Not so much an issue of that I can't post. It's more that what I think of what I want to post and what I can actually post might kill some bridges, particularly with where I want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for example, I'm sort of crafting a piece at the moment about this whole Dan Gorringe, Jared Waitley spat.
Mm.
And one, I have to be very careful with how I word the piece, but then with how I share that out to the masses on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, it's very delicate given my situation and what I'm shooting for and who's gonna potentially see it.
Yep. Gotcha. I see. Is that I get where you're coming from. For this particular piece, is that a risk worth taking?
Um, I think so, purely because I've got a foot in both camps and I can almost come up with a measured argument as to why Dan's good for the game and why he's also not so good for the game. So that's kind of the way that I'm taking it. It's just a matter of I'm trying not to piss people off when I want to get them on side.
Yep. What do you want to be reporting on?
What I want to be reporting on, I not necessarily want to be a reporter. I just want to be a writer and a storyteller. And if a story ends up falling into my lap, then so be it. This isn't necessarily a report, it's an opinion piece.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you want to be a writer and a storyteller, then I'd be focusing on that. And I get this is a hot topic at the moment. It'll probably get clicks and whatnot. But feel free to go ahead and do it. I'm sure people look at it. But like we're talking about one piece, and you're well in your right to go and do it. But I would be spending the majority of your time talking or telling stories, um, and getting them out there. Are you sharing them on Twitter?
I am, yeah.
Okay, yeah. What's the response like on that platform for you?
It varies depending on what it is. Like the last few things that I've posted have been interviews with players, and they've gone pretty well.
Mm,
Just views wise on the website, and then getting engagement on socials as well.
mm,
So it it's like everything with social media. Something takes off, something takes a little bit longer.
mm. Because I still look at that for you, and I still think that's an opportunity to invest some more time in at the moment, particularly across LinkedIn. And I know that you've got your bucket of content you want to be creating, but I still think there's opportunity to kind of
Yeah.
create in that space for decision makers. Um, and if storytelling's your jam, it's probably in the way that who are the great storytellers that you admire? What makes them great? Is it their turn of phrase? Is it their research? Like if you can help other people become great storytellers by the research you're doing into storytellers, like that's valuable stuff. The next one is like, because you're doing a great amount of networking as well. Um, but when you arrive in the room, this is where like that interview prep and the professional back end, becomes super useful. How deep is your list of responses in there?
Um, adding people. Let's
No, so your professional back end document.
Yeah.
Yep. So how many prepared responses about you and your career have you got filled out in there?
I've got about four, but
Four.
four of them based on each each piece of I call really valuable experience that I've had. So
Mm,
the Fox stuff, the Channel 9 stuff, or the
mm,
Olympics, the reload stuff as well, and then
mm.
also the footy record stuff.
Yep. Yep.
They're the main four examples that I keep going on, and I could definitely add a fifth as well now that I'm
Mm,
thinking about it, and I'm probably going to do that as soon as I jump off this call.
yeah. Well, the thing is, like, there's probably a lot of other things within that as well that you can break down too. So within that professional back end, you like how many in all the interviews that you've done, what is the number of different questions you've been asked in interviews for journalistic roles?
Um, Not too many. Like, there's some that ask about your style and what's your process when, say, you have a yarn that you want to break, and what's your process of how you'd go about actually breaking it.
Mm,
So there's a few different ones about that, and then there's a few other questions as to like how much experience have you had in newsroom, so to
mm.
speak.
Yep. Yep. So more than 10?
Yeah.
Cool. So that I would, try and remember every single question you have been asked in a journalistic interview and
Okay.
prepare a back end answer to that. Because
Okay.
you talking about your experience at Fox is going to be a different answer to, Jono, what's your style of writing like? Or when a news story breaks, what's your process to doing that? And that's like, you want to have, Bruce McAvaney is the best at this, you want to have done this much preparation for that little moment. And then on top of that, like, I wouldn't just, bank on like, because I'm sure every journalism interview you've had is like slightly different. You never know what the next one's going to bring. So that's where I jump into, ChatGPT, Claude, and say, hey, actors, Fox Sports hiring a digital producer. Give me 25 interview questions that you might want to ask me. And that's when you build a professional back end answer for each of them.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm. And then on top of
Awesome.
that, like that, and you know about the editing process better than anyone. Like your
Yeah.
first draft is never the finished one.
No,
And
it's not.
and that's when you like, you don't want to just rest and be like, oh, I've filled it out. I'm done here. You can always find new ways to tell your story slightly better because as you have coffee with people, as you have conversations, as you go through interviews, you start to pick up on different cues on what people are reacting to. And you're like, okay, that's the best way to tell my experience about this particular thing. Stand-up comedians do it the best. They will take their jokes to like a very small room, test out their joke, did the sequence of words work On this occasion, did it not. They're basically just trying to be a scientist in the way they deliver what they're saying. And then eventually they can get to, a 15,000 seat stadium and speak for an hour straight with, gold content the whole way through. Why? Because they've tested everything the entire way through. And that's how you want to treat your job hunting. You want to be that well prepared so that, when you do get that moment with a decision maker that may never come around again, you can walk in with the confidence of knowing how much work you've done to prepare for this.
Cool.
Cool.
Cheers for that.
No worries. Because that sounds like, when we get to the pointy end here, which you're not alone, everyone loves to jump to the pointy end of like, how can I just apply for more jobs or reach out for more coffees? They're great, but they are much more easier when you've done this stuff well.
Yeah. It's when you're at my stage, and I'm sure you know this from different chats with me, and you've been there before, you kind of want to just get to the end rather than do the hard stuff. Yeah.
I get it. I'm as impatient as anybody. So, but it's like, yeah, the long road is a short road with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, indeed. Cool. Awesome.
All right, guys, that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. If you want to learn directly from me and our other SportsGrad coaches who are working directly in the industry, then jump into the SportsGrad Method program. Once you're inside, you'll also get access to the entire SportsGrad Method curriculum that comes with a 90-day roadmap, so you know exactly what to do next. There is a step-by-step system to this. You do not have to think of what to do. We have thought of it all for you. Plus, you can tap into the SportsGrad network and get introductions to the people that might be hard to meet for you at the moment. Plus, you'll be surrounded by the wonderful SportsGrad community who are all helping each other get closer to their goals as well. So the results speak for themselves. Have a look at the website if you want to check it all out, but we'd love to see you inside and receive your application. See ya.